I'm here with Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Alexander, we've covered Germany quite extensively in many videos, the German economy, and I think we're calling this one correctly as well. It looks like Merkel is in trouble. It looks like the economy is in trouble. The numbers are not good. We have a lot more data out, and you're going to fill us in as to what's going on in the German economy, but it is definitely in recession, and it's just going to get worse. What are you seeing, Alexander? What are the numbers telling you?
I mean, can I just say what the numbers are saying, and is not that things are not good, is that they're actually awful, and that's not just my view. This is a view that you actually getting people who follow these things, fund managers and people like that. They looked at these figures, and they came out, and they were far worse than anybody had expected. And what we can see now definitely is that Germany is in a major manufacturing recession. The German manufacturing industry, which is the spine of the German economy. Germany is a much more heavily industrialized economy than those of the US and Britain, or shall I put it this way? Industry, manufacturing plays a bigger role in the German economy than it does in the United States and Britain. That manufacturing economy, which is the spine of Germany's economy, is in very bad shape. Orders are falling, the output is contracting, and those problems are now spreading throughout the rest of the German economy. And we are starting to see first indications that services, which are still just about holding up sales and consumer spending, they're now also starting to sag following this big plunge in manufacturing. PMI manufacturing came out at 41.5. Any figure above 50 points to expansion. Any number under 50 points to contraction. When you're looking at a figure like 41.5, that points to a major contraction. It's the worst figure for many years. I think some people are talking about 2012, but 2012 was a strange year. In reality, we're looking back now to conditions in German manufacturing that are beginning to resemble those of the Great Recession period after the 2008 financial crisis. So Germany is contracting. The German economy, the great powerhouse of the European economy, is falling into recession. And because it accounts for so much of the European economy, around 30 to 40% of the total economy of the Eurozone, it's dragging the rest of Europe down with it. And we've also got PMI figures coming out of France, and those are looking very bad. And the whole of the European economy is now practically at a complete standstill. So this is going to be very, very bad news for Angela Merkel, who is desperately trying to hold the line as Chancellor, but who's already seeing the support for her coalition, her grand coalition, is steadily sliding. And of course, it's also going to be very bad news for other European leaders like Emmanuel Macron in France. Macron was able to some extent to head off pressure from the Gilets jaunes in France, which the protest that began last year, by expanding the French economy, by pumping it with money. But that looks like it's now running out of steam. And it seems that France is also starting to slip back into recession as protests in Paris have again started to grow.
All right, Alexander, a couple of questions for you to clear up. Number one, how is the UK economy doing? Number two, what's going on with Deutsche Bank? Any news there? Because I know that weighs heavily on the German economy as well. And number three, we've talked a lot about quantitative easing, QE, Christine Lagarde taking over the ECB. What do you think they're going to do to head off, to stimulate, to prevent an economic meltdown in the European
Right.
Union?
Now, this is the interesting thing about the British economy, because, of course, ever since the Brexit referendum, in fact, during the Brexit referendum, there's been sustained attempts to talk it down. The Remainers during the Brexit referendum were saying that if Britain voted to leave, there would be an immediate economic, crash, and the country would very rapidly fall into recession. And to their embarrassment, in fact, the economy continued to grow. And there was expectations that as Brexit Day came, it would again, Brexit Day being, originally 29th March of this year, it would again start to contract. And then Boris Johnson came along, and that would again, people were again talking about how there were going to be problems. And supposedly with Brexit looming on the 31st of October, there were going to be still more problems. And we had 1 month when there was a apparent contraction, and we had all kinds of people running around and saying, well, look, this proves that everything is falling apart in the economy in Britain. It hasn't happened. I mean, things didn't look so good in July, but they rebounded strongly in August, or not, maybe not strongly, but they rebounded in August. The British economy is still growing. The German economy is in recession. The European economy is at a standstill. And yet you still hear people say in Britain that we've got to rejoin the European Union because our economy is going to do badly if we come out. I mean, they want to take a British economy, which is growing and expanding, and they want to join it up to an economy, Germany's, which is contracting. And can I say, for Germany, if Brexit happens, especially if it's a no-deal Brexit, which is still possible, then, of course, if there is such a no-deal Brexit, that will hit German exports, manufacturing exports even more. It will hurt the car industry even more, and that will push the recessionary forces in Germany, will make them even stronger. So, Britain is, if I can put it like this, maybe it's not doing stellar well, but it's trundling along. Now, QE, all these things, all these extraordinary ideas, negative interest rates. As I have said in previous programs, I've been to I was in Germany a few weeks ago, and I was struck by how many people in Germany, at least in the part of Germany that I was, were complaining about negative interest rates, because, of course, Germany is a country where people historically have saved. Those savings have then been loaned by the German banks, which are very decentralized in Germany, to the local businesses. Those businesses have therefore been able to draw on those funds to invest. That has meant that German investment rates have been very high, historically very high, and that is what has driven the German economic model. That was the historical basis of Germany's economic success. Now, negative interest rates are turning all that on its head. Savers are not able to save anymore. That's reducing the number of funds available for investment, and it's forcing people to invest in ever more speculative activities, because lending money to the sort of middle-level German industrial groups that used to do very well, and used to give you a solid 2 or 3% return, it's no longer making you much money, because you're losing money on your savings through the negative interest rates. So everybody was complaining about this. Everybody who I talked to about economic matters in Germany was complaining about this. But with Europe in recession, with Germany increasingly in recession, with markets, international markets now starting to close, with China starting to close up, with the United States talking about imposing tariffs on Germany and on Europe, with the British possibly going for a Brexit, it's very difficult to see how demand is going to come in Europe unless they start borrowing and spending and printing money and doing all those things. So that is going to put even more downward pressure on interest rates, and that's going to hurt German savers even further. And that's going to make the political situation in Germany, even more ugly, with many, many Germans increasingly feeling that they're being taken for a ride.
And what about Deutsche Bank, Alexander, which is the big bank in Germany, which, we've already documented and we've covered as well as being a bank in crisis, much like the country.
But much like the country is. I mean, this is the point. I would say Germany is not exactly in crisis. If you go there, it's still an immensely rich country. It still runs very well. I mean, it's an orderly, efficient place in many, many respects. But the problems are accumulating. Actually, they've been accumulating for a long time. Angela Merkel has presided in Germany over a decade of political stagnation. So problems have built up which she hasn't addressed or wanted to address because she hasn't wanted to take head on the various groups in Germany, which, like in every country, will always resist any reform. Any reform or any change that you try to do will run into some opposition from someone. If you're a strong government, like let's say Vladimir Putin is a strong government, has a strong government in Russia, you understand that for the future you have to override the complaints of these groups and do things which may in the short term be unpopular, but which will leave your economy, further down the road in good working order. That's why Putin carried out this big pension reform last year. He lost some popularity as a result, but going forward, he politically and Russia economically will gain from it. Merkel never did anything like that. She's never done anything like that. She's always in Germany looked to protect her political position by never quarreling with anybody who was strong enough to make any real trouble. So these problems have been accumulating and gestating, but they're now reaching a critical point. And they're reaching a critical point first and foremost in the German banking system. Most recessions start in the financial system. So with Deutsche Bank massively indebted, having run its business model very badly for many years, and faced with this problem of negative interest rates, which, to be very clear, is a very big problem for banks, its problems are deteriorating also. But what does Merkel do? Does she come along and try and sort out the problems of Deutsche Bank? Does she go and look to sort out the problems in the rest of the economy? No, she doesn't. She draws down the curtains, pretends that all is well, and it just carries on. So the problems in Deutsche Bank, which are getting worse, and the problems of the German economy, which are getting worse, just get constantly pushed like a can further and further down the road. Now, eventually, she will run out of the road, or at least Germany will. The big question is, will she be there when it happens?
But what does that mean, Alexander, if Germany runs out of road, whether with or without Merkel? I mean, like you said, Germany is 30-40% of the EU economy. I mean, are we looking at, a systemic meltdown throughout Europe? I mean, are there any countries that, will withstand a German recession?
Well, this is the huge question. I mean, the fundamental principle in economics, in politics, in everything, is that what is not sustainable cannot be sustained. The Merkel system, which is what we have had in Europe for the last 10 years, is unsustainable. It cannot be sustained. There is going to be a big recession at some point in Europe. The question is, what happens then? Will we start to see major structural reforms in Europe? Structural reforms means, in my opinion, doing something about the euro. The euro is at the core of all of these problems. You need a fundamental change in the financial architecture of Europe, so that Germany has a currency which is its own, and as a result a financial system which is its own, so they can have proper interest rates that are adapted to the needs of German businesses and German society, not interest rates that try to be lower so as to help countries, indebted countries like Italy and France. But Merkel's not going to do that. Not doing that is going to make the recession deeper. Will this change in the financial system, which, to be very clear, I think ultimately must mean the breakup of the financial system, will this be done in an orderly way, or will it be done in a chaotic one? A chaotic one being, to give you an example of a chaotic breakup, the breakup of another union, another great powerful union, the USSR in 1991, where suddenly it all fell apart.
Yeah, but Alexander, it seems that Europe is moving in the exact opposite direction that you just described. We're looking at a Macron leadership, more integration. We're looking at a Christine Lagarde as ECB, more Europe, more integration, more euro. It seems like they want to push it to the exact opposite of what you just described right now.
Yes, I mean, it's the philosophy that if a little poison does you bad, then a lot of poison will do you good. And that seems to be the idea. My own personal view is that if they really do go for more Europe, which is every indication that they are, of what they're going to do, all that will do is accelerate the coming collapse. And can I make it very clear, when I'm talking about coming collapse, I don't mean some vast apocalypse. France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Britain, they will always be there. They will always remain big countries. But I'm talking about this superstructure that has been created, which has drained Europe of its economic vitality for the last 20 years or so. And by the way, I should make it clear, the problems began even before the euro was created. We were already starting to see the imbalances starting to pile up during the time of the attempt to control currencies that preceded the introduction of the euro itself. But, that's we will see how it works out.
Finally, Alexander, that chaotic collapse will leave a lot of collateral damage, correct?
Oh, yeah, huge collateral damage. But, again, Alex, can I just say, this is not necessarily the apocalypse. Governments, if they are strong, leaders, if they are wise, can always cope with these things. We're talking about rich countries. You can always do things, carry out reforms within those countries that work. The trouble is, we don't see very much sign of political leadership in Europe now. And frankly, the quality of the political class in every European country is the worst that I can remember.
With the exception of, I would say, Orban,
Poland,
maybe Salvini in Italy if he gets to power.
Well, I think Orban is just about the one person, actually, who at the moment is leading a major country, who does look as if he's got a clear vision of the way forward. Jean-Claude Juncker, by the way, who was the president of the European Commission, had some really rather interesting things to say about Orban, because obviously he and Orban are major antagonists, but he was actually quite grudgingly admiring of Orban, and even said that at a personal level they actually get on quite well with each other. But Orban is the exception that proves the rule. I mean, if you look at all the big countries, no one there who looks at all impressive at the moment. Salvini may appear in Italy, but he's untested. I mean, he's not been prime minister, so we don't know how he will turn out. Kaczynski in Poland, I mean,
Poland's heavily tied to Germany, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Very, very heavily. That was exactly the point I was going to make. It's essentially a branch of the German economy. It's doing very well. It has been doing very well on the back of Germany's economic strength. Germany falls into a sustained recession. It's difficult to see how Poland can extricate itself from that. And the problem with Kaczynski is that he seems to be far more interested in foreign policy and cultural policy and also social policy than he is in economics. I've never got the impression that he's actually got very much of a grasp of economics. Orban does, by the way. Orban has. And if you see the way he's run things in Hungary, he did an awful lot of things which he was advised by the usual people in the various funds and banks not to do. And of course, they all worked. He had the courage to do them, and they worked. Kaczynski isn't really like that. And I think if he finds himself in a big recession, I'm not sure how he would respond. But as I said, Hungary and Poland are ultimately... one hesitates to say this about Poland, but they're in the end quite marginal countries. Germany, Italy, France are the core. If things go badly wrong there, Spain to some extent, if things go badly wrong there, and there isn't a leadership to lead them out of it, then, as I said, it's very difficult to know how it will all in the end sort itself out. And as I said, the overall economic superstructure needs to be changed anyway. And of that, as you rightly say, all the indications are that things have been pushed in the wrong direction.
All right. Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Guys, if you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below. Click on the notifications bell to make sure you get notifications every time we push out a new video. And remember to get an audio copy of this video. You can follow us on iTunes and SoundCloud. The links are in the description box down below. And also donate to us on PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribestar. Your donation helps keep this channel up and running. You will find links to those platforms also in the description box as well. And another thing that keeps this channel up and running, Alexander, is when you purchase Duran merchandise, whether it's a nice mug, like that Alpha mug Alexander is holding up.
The Alpha mug, absolutely. I mean, the really tough guys of Alpha, no doubt, I'm sure that they drink from mugs like this because this is an absolute A1 mug, an Alpha mug in every sense, 15 ounces, perfect porcelain body, light to hold, extremely strong, very beautiful, really high quality mug. This is a superb mug. I don't call it a coffee mug. My wife refers to them as coffee mugs because I drink tea from my mugs, not coffee. And by the way, I've been drinking all day long excellent English Assam tea. I say English, actually it's Indian Assam tea, but we think of them as being the sort of teas that were invented by the British Empire. So apologies to the people of India. It's your product, it's your tea. We shouldn't call it English tea, but we love it very much in England, and that's why we drink it so much. And of course, it's drunk with milk, and it's the perfect tea for a wet, cold day of the kind that we're having in England. And it is perfect to drink from a mug like this. And of course, this mug keeps me refreshed, vigorous, bright, and alert, which is why I'm able to give such a complicated discussion on such an intricate topic with Alex and his questions, dealing with all these very complicated issues of economics that we have done on this program. And of course, how could I do it? Well, I have the confidence to do it because I dress in this marvelous T-shirt that you see me wearing. with the Duran double-headed eagle there. Anybody will tell you that if you're wearing really fine clothes, that does wonders to your self-confidence. And there's no question about it. I should know. I've always taken great care over how I dress. So I always dress in really good quality clothes with really high quality materials. London is, of course, famous for its high quality men's clothes, and these are high quality men's clothes. These shirts that I'm wearing now, 100% cotton, beautifully cut, elegantly dyed, stylish to look at, comfortable to wear. You'll find lots of other shirts like this on our shop. Polo shirts, t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts. You'll find hoodies there. You'll find hats. You'll find stickers. You find all sorts of great things because Alex has been refreshing what we sell in our shop. The feedback we're getting from our viewers is amazing. Our competitors have noticed also because they're trying to sell products like ours, but of course they can't come close to matching our quality. And of course, on top of all this, of all this wonderful merchandise that we sell, we also sell intellectual things. We have 2 books on Russiagate, 1 book on Brexit, which we're probably going to refresh before very long. You can find them all on our shop. Help the Duran. Help yourself, buy these great things from the Duran. Alex will tell you how to do it.
You'll find the link for the Duran shop in the description box down below, theduranshop.com. And real quickly, Alexander, that shirt is the black shirt with the gold eagle?
It's the black shirt with the gold eagle.
Okay.
I've got a green shirt which is long sleeved, green t-shirt, and I've got a blue one, which is white one.
The white eagle. Okay, so that one is the black one with the gold eagle. Check it out on the shop. Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Until next time, everybody, take care.